examine the term itself, I think it's a very powerful concept. We should all be, whether we are enrolled in a class or not, whether we are enrolled in a high school, a community college, a university, is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is that we become this. That we become responsible for our own instruction. We are the ones who stimulate ourselves to learn. That way we can't blame anybody. Well, he didn't teach me anything. She didn't teach me anything. Well, so what? It's your responsibility. This is what matters. Having an ID that says East LA College or UCLA or Cal State Northridge is irrelevant. This is the only thing that matters, ultimately. And it's a prime example of what I mean by using, in this case, the Nahuatl language as a source of inspiration. And you have to consider the following. The word Nahuatl, or Nahuatl, in the language means what? Does anyone know? It means beautiful, it means clear, it means transparent. And it's very interesting that speakers of this language would refer to their tongue as what? Something beautiful, something clear, something transparent. We would say now something understandable. Because if you consider the names of, let's say, the Spanish language, it has reference to what? The geographical distribution of the language, or the group that used it. Spain, Spaniards. Likewise, English, the Angles, right? England. But in the case of Nahuatl, it doesn't refer to a people or to a place. It refers rather to what? To the intrinsic qualities of the language. It's clear. It's transparent. Ni is I, Tlactoa, speak. Ni Nahuatl. Tlactoa means I speak beautifully. I speak clearly. I speak what? I speak Nahuatl. Exactly. And this expression, or this term, Omaxtiani, is very what? It's very Nahuatl. It's clear, it's transparent, it's understandable, it's beautiful, it's powerful. If we think of the Nahuatl language in those terms, I think that we can begin to take away or tear apart all of that cultural oppression that has been accumulating over the centuries. The negative bias towards that which is native, that which is indigenous. Nahuatl, Mayan, Zapotec, Mixtec are what? Not languages, no son idiomas, they're what? Dialectos, right? You heard that term in Spanish? Es una expresión tan nociva, you know what nocivo means? It's so harmful, tan dañino. It's done countless damage to our attitudes regarding that which is native to the Western Hemisphere. Don't ever refer to these languages as dialectos. Because do you know what that suggestion is? Dialecto, what does it suggest when people use it in speaking Spanish? Que no vale, que es algo bajo. Right? El español es una lengua, es un idioma, es la lengua para hablar con Dios. El idioma de Cervantes, fine. El idioma de Cervantes. El náhuatl es la lengua del Nezahualcóyotl, right? But they claim, people who use it, very directly sometimes, very assertively, very aggressively, that indigenous languages are defective languages, therefore they are dialectos. Generally, when Spanish speakers use the term dialecto, that's what they're talking about. Dialecto literally is nothing more than a regional variety. It's a Greek word. Dia in Greek means throughout an area. Lek means speech. Dialect is speech used in an area. We speak English. We speak a dialect of English. We speak a regional variety of English. We speak Spanish as well. We speak a regional variety of Spanish. We speak a dialect of Spanish. There is a language that consists of many regional varieties. Nahuatl, Mayan, the others are languages. And they also have regional varieties and social varieties. So that Nahuatl is spoken today, where? Well, in the central Mexican area, you know what, travel about 250 miles to the east, and you're going to find a few 100,000 speakers of Nahuatl also in Veracruz. But their Nahuatl is slightly different from the Nahuatl spoken in the central area. It's a regional variant, another regional variant. Just as the English that we speak in California differs somewhat from the English spoken by Texans, right? Same language, but it's a different regional variety. It's the only way we should use the term dialect or dialecto. Don't ever use it to put indigenous languages down. On the contrary, think of, and since you're speaking of Nahuatl, think of it as what Nahuatl, something clear, something beautiful, something powerful. Regarding that seminar that I mentioned earlier, para la descolonización de Mexico, the director is a man whose name you might know, Rubén Bonifaz Nuño. Does anyone know that name? Rubén Bonifaz Nuño was the director also of el Fondo de Cultura Económica, one of the most prestigious publishing houses in Mexico, a poet of great renown in Mexico also. He, in the first publication, the first bulletin published by this particular seminar, in his preface, mentions an incident in Mexico, Tenochtitlan, the capital of Mexica, where Hernán Cortés and some of his fellow Spaniards were in a boat traveling up a canal. And they saw another boat coming in the opposite direction. And Cortés signals to them, these Nahuatl speakers, and he says, "Hey, quiero hablar con uno de sus grandes señores. I want to speak to one of your great lords here." And the response was, "Tú puedes hablar con quien quieras, porque aquí todos somos grandes señores." And Bonifaz Nuño claims that the history of the indigenous peoples of the Western Hemisphere is not la visión o la historia de los vencidos, sino la visión de los grandes señores. That should always be our attitude. And I think that liberating process can be catapulted by a study of the indigenous languages. I mean, it's liberating to know these languages. Are there any questions or comments on anything I said before I go on? Okay. Do you want me to start in with a breakdown of the language, or do you want me to go on with general remarks of this type? I don't know what you might have in mind. Oh, the language itself? Okay. All right. First of all, since I mentioned the notion of dialect, regional speech, we have to consider that the language itself, Nahuatl, has several regional varieties and social varieties as well. I mentioned already that in central Mexico, the Nahuatl language is spoken today. If we go back to, let's say, the 16th century, of course, it was spoken through a great part of Mesoamerica, including Central America also. And within, let's say, the Valley of Mexico, you had different varieties of the language. Same language, but each with its own particular twist. So in the city of Mexico, Tenochtitlan, you have one variety. In the city of Texcoco, a very closely related variety. If you move over to the area of Puebla, in the region of Tlaxcala, Huixotzinco, another variety. Move over to the area of Cuauhnáhuac, Cuernavaca, another variety. Mutually intelligible, but slight differences. I mean, that's nothing to be concerned about. In addition to the idea of dialect, we also have to consider the notion of style, which is very closely linked to register.